So, Formula 2 coming this weekend, starting in Australia. We've got the Formula 1 going on, but Formula 2 as well. That for me, you look at this season coming up, we have got drivers joining the grid which just make it look really exciting, really interesting. We've got drivers who have switched, obviously, young driver programs coming in, and they obviously, some of them had very, very bad luck, I think, last year. And, with the normal Formula 2 shenanigans, we're going to see some surprises as well. It's going to be really interesting to see who makes that step up. So, firstly, number one that I'm really excited about seeing is Colton Herta. He is joining the grid. He is obviously an IndyCar race winner. This guy, I remember him winning around COTA, I think it was a few years ago with IndyCar, and they raced around the full circuit. So he's used to, racing around circuits that are like that. He's also used to with the power steering, because IndyCar doesn't have power steering on its car. At least I'm not aware of that. And for me, this is going to be really interesting, because if he can make that jump and have a very, very strong season, what does it say about the rest of the IndyCar grid? We know about the quality in terms of some of the other drivers who have gone across there and have competed. Marcus Ericsson, who has won the Indy 500 twice, being an interesting one. But would we then see a chance where possibly somebody like of an Alex Palou level of the future, I'm not necessarily saying Alex Palou, but somebody in the future of Alex Palou's potential and what we've seen him do. He's a 4-time IndyCar winner now. Will we see drivers make that transition? Will there be a review of the super license points where IndyCar drivers will be able to come straight into Formula 1? It's so interesting, isn't it? And if he has a really, really bad season, what is that going to do to the IndyCar sort of just how it's regarded in Europe and the UK and that kind of thing? It's going to be, as I say, fun to watch him drive. He's a driver that is not scared to make a move. He's Dutch, so again, having another Dutch driver coming through, if Max Verstappen leaves and all of a sudden Colton Herta can jump in, it keeps that sort of Dutch interest in Formula 1, which I think personally we need. It's an absolute shame that actually after this year we're not going to be seeing Zandvoort on the grid. You can only hope that maybe they can sign a deal where they're sort of on and off, a bit like what Spa has done, something like that. So, Colton Herta, definitely one to watch. Secondly, a guy who's coming into, I think, Invicta is Rafael Camara. Now, this guy has just won the Formula 3 season last year, dominating it like we have actually never ever seen. He won it with a race weekend to go. And you think about the drivers who have won it in the past. You've got Charles Leclerc. I think he might have been GP3, F3, depends on the transitional timing of that. You've got some George Russell as well. He's won it. Gabriel Bortoleto, I think, might have won it as well. None of them have dominated Formula 3, which is a spec series that, and it is very, very difficult to win in F3. 30 cars, and he just dominated. He took 4 race wins. He got something like 166 odd points. It would have been far more of a gap, and I think far more points. But apart from the fact he ended up getting a penalty or some kind of issue in Monza, and he went from 30th to 5th or 6th in one of the races. Now you think about the fact that, Monza, nobody overtakes around Monza. The DRS train, obviously the shallow rear wings, all that kind of stuff. He managed to get up to 6th. 24 places gained. You don't just have luck and things like that. Safety cars might also play an impact with a couple of DNFs. Go back and watch the race, because he just made move after move after move. This guy, if this is anything to follow and the form guide of previous years is to follow, he is going to have a stellar Formula 2 season. You look at drivers who have dominated race series, Oscar Piastri being one. He dominated Formula 2 in 2021 like nothing. Dominating 2021 was that was madness. We're not going to see anything to that level, but he is one of my, people I think is going to be challenging for this title, and is going to be a driver that's going to be courted by a lot of Formula One teams. Now, I think he's currently in the driver academy of Ferrari, which means you've got Cadillac, you've got Haas, and don't know whether there's any others that sort of fulfill that pipeline. But let's just say if a seat comes available from one of those two teams, don't be surprised if Kamara ends up in Formula One in 2027. This guy is different level. Now, this video could obviously come back to bite me, but I'm not going to be surprised that this guy is going to be coming forward. And then we move forward to Australia. Now, Australia, it's a mad race at the best of times. Formula 2 has had its fair share of incidences where, because of the way the track is, they can't get temperature in the tyres. So normally for like the warm-up lap after a pit stop, it is incredibly difficult. We've had so many guys just end up in the wall at 1 or 2, or even actually halfway down turn 3. And even on one occasion, completely unrelated, we had the top 3, I think 3 of the top 4, I think it was first, second and fourth, all crash out within about 20-30 metres. Like, there's a bit of footage from a guy who's sitting in the pit lane, forget who it was, but the camera's just watching him, and as the drivers go ahead, 3 of them just spear straight into the wall. So, we're obviously not going to see anything like that, but I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what these new Formula 2 cars are going to do. You know, they're still sort of a similar spec to before, so they should be quicker, teams understanding them. Obviously, the drivers who have been there, you know, a bit of time now should understand the tyres. People like Dirksen, you've got Alex Dunn, of course, mentioned earlier. He's now moved to the Alpine Young Driver Academy. He was so unlucky with some of his stuff last year. You know, he was, I think, going back to actually Monza in Formula 2, I think he was running into points doing a very, very good race. I think he was taken out by Lindblad, I think, at Ascari. And he just ends up in the wall, just completely not his fault. The one thing I really hope with this season that they need to sort out, because last season it was a bit of a joke, and it was just, in a way, sometimes it was like, what are we watching? Because the order that we had was never the order that ended up being the final classification. There were so many post-race penalties through, like, you know, irregularity in the modes, or not enough fuel, or some kind of thing in the weighing, or some kind of like technicality breach when using off the line or something. This year, I just hope that all those penalties are sorted out prior to the race ending. You know, if you just need to give them a quick 5 seconds, yes, it's a pain for a lot of us, the 5-second penalty. It can be a bit of a, you know, bit pointless sometimes, but just give them something. You know, just give the penalty that you know it's going to be. You know, you can probably, you know, we see it in football with VAR. It's like you only need to watch it a couple of times to know what the incident is. You know, if there's irregularities and stuff, give them grid penalties. If it's, as long as it's not a stupid result, give them grid penalties for the next race. Force them to start from the back in the following weekend or following race. So then, you know, you completely and utterly stop them for the following year. Following year? Well, it would be the following year if it was last race in Abu Dhabi, of course. But it's my one hope this year with Formula 2 that they get that sorted. But as I say, you look at Alex Dunn, I think he could have a very, very good year. I think Ollie Goethe, I think, again, he's a guy that I think could do very, very well. Gabriele Mini, now having had a year, should be able to understand the car a bit more. So you'd hope that he would now understand sort of how to make the tyres last. And there's always one random guy that comes out of nowhere that just has an amazing season. I mean, you look at Drogovic, like he was having sort of okay seasons and then suddenly it all clicks. We could have that sort of a season come up again where one guy just comes out and just absolutely storms it. But as a prediction, I just think, as I go back to, I think Kamara, will I call him, am I going to predict him as champion? Yes, I am going to predict him as champion. I just see this guy as being quite generational, and the fact that he's from Brazil as well, it's just mega exciting. It's like the next Brazilian coming through with Gabriel Bortoleto already on the field. Can you imagine having both Bortoleto and Kamara both on the grid and going to Interlagos? you know, both of them being supported and both of them just being cheered on. I think we need that. You know, it's like you kind of need, you know, a driver from, you know, Britain. You need a driver now pretty much from Holland. You need drivers from Brazil. You need drivers from Finland. And that's what I'm hoping that we get to see more of. So, yeah, Formula 2 season, I mean, it starts in Australia. I think that's just brilliant. Bahrain, again, it's going to be mad. Saudi Arabia, again, will that be mad? Of course, there's things going on in the world right now, but let's assume they're going to go ahead. F1 is very, very good, as it showed in COVID, that if they do get cancelled, we'll be able to move and do another race elsewhere. You know, it's not the end of the world if we don't race at a certain place because of external factors. Yeah, when we get to Abu Dhabi, yeah, let's just say that I think Colton Herta, he'll definitely, I think, be a top 10, but Kamara's going to be different gravy, I think, to a lot for people. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people who are maybe thinking, yeah, okay, you won Formula 3, but what about Formula 2? Yeah, this guy's the guy. This guy is the next one maybe coming through that, you know, looks like he's the real deal. But anyway, we'll have to see what happens there and how well this ages. Probably not that well, knowing me, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be making videos probably on Formula 2 throughout the season. Probably do a little bit of a reaction to the sprint race and the feature race. Yeah, the other side of the weekend. Anyway, so overall, thanks for watching. Cheers.